What's up, Tiger fans? On this episode, we're talking all things women's soccer. After a back-to-back state championship, we sat down with coaches and players on the winning culture here at BHS. I'm Megan Verkamp, and welcome to Inside the Jungle. Coach Porter, thank you so much for joining us. So this is your 5th year at Bentonville. You've won 2 state championships. So what has been your experience at Bentonville been like?
Obviously, it's been a great time. I came in the first year, it was at the end of COVID, and the program didn't have very many seniors at that time, which was in some ways a blessing. To be able to come in and start with a brand new group that hadn't, Coach Henry had won so much before I come in, and so a lot of the program is associated with her and the culture she had built. And so coming in with so many young players, it was almost a fresh start. A big part, obviously, is trying to continue the winning tradition here. But also, I just want to provide as many players an opportunity to play a group or a place where they feel they belong.
This year we would go on to a 3rd back-to-back state championship, which is pretty crazy. I know you look a lot at other teams in our conference and in our state. What do you think the biggest factor for us will be in terms of winning that championship?
I think it'll just come down to, I think we're the better team in the state. I haven't seen Mount St. Mary's, and I've heard some good things about them, but within our conference, like last year, 4 of the 4 teams in the semifinals were 6A West teams.
Yeah.
So the 6A West is a really strong conference. Just like last year, it's going to come down to, can we perform on the day? And if we perform on the day at our best versus any other team at their best, I put money on us.
It was 13 seniors last year who had graduated, and we had players like Kayla Hurley, who was the Gatorade Player of the Year, and Kaylee Voracek and Gracie Jones, all D1 athletes. Obviously contributed a lot to the team. This year, not having them, how has the style of soccer and our play on the field kind of shifted?
In some ways, it hasn't. I look at the statistics and compare them year to year, and the amount of possession that this team has, how much control they have over the game, how many chances they create, it's very, very similar. But obviously, different players, different positions. There is obviously this group puts their own personality on the game, and that's what I want. I don't want necessarily each group to be replicas of the seasons before, and so they just find the commonality is both groups win. But they do it in slightly different ways.
Thank you so much, Coach Porter. Next, we talked to Tori Otter, a captain and a key player for the Lady Tigers, to get a player's perspective of this year's culture. Now, I talked to Coach Porter about the unique culture of Bentonville women's soccer and the long history of it all. From your point of view, these past 4 years, how would you describe that culture?
I think a lot of it is we're all hardworking, we're all very motivated and driven, but at the same time, we're a big group of friends and we all love each other and we're very connected, so it makes it easy to want to play and easy to want to compete at your hardest every game in practice.
Thank you, Tori. So we've heard about this year's team, but what about the history of the program? Assistant coach Nick Smallridge has been with BHS Women's Soccer for 8 years now, so we got to talk to him about his experience at BHS as well as the legacy that he's seen build through the years. So you've been here for quite some time, quite some state championships. We're going on our 10th.
Yes,
So what's the secret to keeping a winning culture?
That is a great question. I think, I look at someone like you, Megan, who is a tremendous athlete, tremendous student, and a tremendous person. And I think, I think it starts with the players and the people. You have great kids, great families who come into a program, and that in itself breeds success. And so I feel like we have a revolving door of excellence. It's always a pleasure to see new kids come in, and it always makes me sad to see them leave because it's a tremendous environment with tremendous people.
Mm-hmm. And so you've seen lots of different women's soccer teams here at BHS. What makes this team, a little bit different from the rest?
Yeah, I think starting with that hallmark characteristic of we know where we came from. Every group has a connection to the teams before. Each of the stars on the shirt that I have, represents a team that won a championship that is a connection, but is a little bit different. This team specifically, I think, has the characteristics of that group that has been having won 2 state championships back to back. Knowing what those moments look like and what is going to make them different is they get to forge their own identity. Because each of the previous 2, we had 2 groups that were pretty similar, and this group is a little bit different with personnel, but they have the characteristics of wanting to achieve excellence. They have the characteristics of wanting to prove who they are to others. But ultimately, I look at what makes them, similar in the expectations of excellence, and I'm always excited to see what comes next.
I want to thank Coach Nick, Coach Porter, and Tori for joining us. And join us next episode where we sit down with another one of our spring sports.